everything he touched wondrous.
Elizabeth and Mike talked with reporters after he won the Oscar for Around the World in 80 Days.
Well, we're going to have a baby. I think that's exciting, too.
That's an understatement. Can you imagine? I don't know. I hope I live through all this because everything is so exciting.
But he didn't live through it. Elizabeth's third child, Liza Todd, was 6 months old when Mike had to fly to New York on business. Elizabeth had a virus and decided to stay home.
And he came up to say goodbye to me 5 times. And it's like we both knew that, it's like we both had a premonition. We'd never been apart before, ever, a night, never.
Mike Todd boarded his plane, the Liz, on March 22nd, 1958. It crashed in the New Mexico desert, killing everyone on board.
When I got the news that morning that they didn't even get the words out, I just started screaming.
How did you survive?
I have no idea. I really don't know.
When Elizabeth flew to Chicago for the funeral, she was accompanied by Todd's best friend, singer Eddie Fisher. His wife, Debbie Reynolds, stayed in Los Angeles to watch over Elizabeth's 3 small children. 5 months later, Elizabeth and Eddie Fisher were romantically linked. They tied the knot in Las Vegas on the same day he divorced America's sweetheart, Debbie Reynolds. Then, while in London, Elizabeth received a phone call that led to the most celebrated role of her life, Cleopatra.
I was in the bathtub, and I yelled the figure out through the door to my assistant.
I mean, they said, would you do Cleopatra, Elizabeth?
And I said, yeah, for $1 million and 10% of the gross. And they came back and said, okay. And I just let out a yell and sort of went under the water screaming.
And that's how Cleopatra began.
That's how the first $1 million in films was made. It was a joke.
Soon after Cleopatra began production, Elizabeth was hospitalized with pneumonia. An emergency tracheotomy saved her life. She emerged from the hospital almost a month later. Then she appeared at the Academy Awards.
Elizabeth Taylor. It seemed only days ago that Elizabeth Taylor was desperately ill in London, her life despaired of.
I guess all I can do is say thank you. Thank you with all my heart.
Elizabeth won her first Oscar for her portrayal of a hooker in Butterfield 8.
I thought it was a piece of garbage. I said so. I won the Oscar for it.
You won the Academy Award for
But the next day, I still said I won it for my tracheotomy. It was a piece of garbage.
Isn't that amazing? The film.
What is it that excites you about this, about passion?
Well, it's the kind of perfume, obviously, that I have made for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's floral oriental. So it's smoky floral. It's not too sweet.
Now, we did have an opportunity to accompany Elizabeth Taylor to a press preview of the perfume, and let's take a look at what happened. The date was April 7th, and Elizabeth Taylor unveiled for the first time her luxurious new fragrance line, Elizabeth Taylor's Passion. And as you can see, the theme of the night was rich, violet, and very beautiful. There was also a special video presentation which let the audience see how Elizabeth Taylor's Passion was created.
Elizabeth Taylor's passion was to create a fragrance that combined a luxurious blend of brilliant floral and distinctive oriental notes.
Oh, that evokes warm summer nights.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
And it was an evening for us to hear just how the people behind the scenes feel about their new product, and the woman whose name adorns it, Elizabeth Taylor.
Everything about Elizabeth Taylor says passion. Her life, her face, the way she lives, everything. It's a perfect match between an idea and a woman. And I think being touched by passion is something that women will find very, very exciting and adds something special to their life because it comes from Elizabeth.
That means photograph time.
I believe the marriage between Elizabeth Taylor and passion is made in heaven. And that, in fact, there are few people in this world that are more appropriate in terms of introducing a fragrance, and few people that align themselves in terms of fragrance imagery better than Elizabeth Taylor.
And now that the world knows of Elizabeth Taylor's passion, the work really begins as a team of brilliant artists go to work on commercials, print ads, and photo sessions like this one. We thought you'd like to see just what it takes to create the look for Elizabeth Taylor's passion.
Elizabeth Taylor is who she is because of all the emotion and the life that she's lived. And I think that, I feel that when I'm photographing her. There's a tremendous amount of depth and a tremendous amount of sensitivity. Consequently, we get very strong images, very successful images, with consistency, and that's important. Plus, I think she and I have a very good relationship. I think she's comfortable in front of the camera, and it should be fun. We try and keep it fun, and the results are good.
We've used fabric that's very rich, very sensuous, and of course, the color alone is one of her passions, violet.
I think you reach a point in relationships where you have to face the truth. It's either working or it isn't. As in my last marriage, I tried very hard to make it work. And I love John. He's a wonderful man and a wonderful politician. He's really a super senator, and he's completely dedicated. There just wasn't room in his life for me, for family. And the Senate is a very hard mistress to fight.
Very.
Wife, family. And the competition was just too much for me. If she was a lady I couldn't cope with.
A lot of women have been beaten by that particular lady, the Senate or politics. It's a tough one. What do you think was the most difficult time of your life?
Well, at the time it happened, of course, Mike's death. We'd only had 13 months together, and I loved him with my life and had a 6-month-old baby. And I never thought I'd love again. I remarried, but it was a disaster. And I thought I'd never, ever have that feeling of being able to totally commit and to give and receive and, well, the feeling of being in love. And I did know it again. And I guess I'm just very lucky because I've had it twice. And I've had a lot of affection and friendship in between.
You recently became a grandmother again. Your daughter Liza, who of course is the daughter of Mike Todd, had a little boy about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
How did that feel to see Liza, who we all remember her, frankly, I remember her as that wonderful picture of you and Mike and she, she was about this big, lying on your chest. What did it feel like to see this little person suddenly become a mother herself?
It was extraordinary because Liza is very tiny and she did have a hard time and she was exhausted. But there was such an amazing love going on between Liza and the baby and her husband. And the baby looked exactly like Liza did when she was 2 months old because she was premature and very little when she was born. But when she was 2 months old, she weighed the same as her son does now. And when I was holding the baby, it was like I had to look up at Liza and think, wait a minute, this isn't Liza, that's Liza. That's Liza's baby. I mean, it was almost like deja vu because they look so much alike. And I wished at that moment that Mike and Richard could have been there because they would have been so proud of her.
Oh, yeah.